Okay guys, as promised, Rob said he was gonna get an Xmaxx, and here it is. Yeah, he went off to the store like he said he would, and now we've got a new car to add to the channel. So in this video, we're just gonna do a quick unboxing. We're gonna peel it apart real quick and see how it stacks up to the one we already have in here. The drivetrain on this one is all stock, but we did upgrade some durability issues, and we'll have a look at this and see if Xmaxx is still built the same way it was to begin with. You ready for this?
Oh yes, I'm excited.
Check this out. This one is stock. Now, I do have the Max arms, the wide Max kit on my Max, and it says they're cold weather. Okay, it does. It says they're cold weather arms, so we tested that. And I was unusually hard on it. I mean, really, it was still frozen. We had snow outside, and we really got after that car. And I cartwheeled and tumbled and piled it into rocks and bounced off trees, and I was not at all nice, and we were running at full power at 4S. And I was unable to break one of those arms. Okay, the point is, maybe they use that plastic in these. That's my point. If they've upgraded the plastic in the new Xmaxx, and this is new because we just bought this one. This one's over a year and a half old now. So if they've changed the components in this, maybe they're structured the same way, but if they've upgraded the plastic, maybe the arms aren't a weak point anymore. If we take a look at the hub carriers and see that they're not perforated like the ones were on this one, and they beefed them up a little bit, maybe that's not a weak point either. And in this video, we're gonna pull this apart and see exactly what the difference is and see if it's built exactly the same way. If so, then we know the upgrades are gonna be necessary. But I'm really excited to get this out of the box. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go, Rob. Open it up.
There
Nice.
we go.
There you go. There.
Look at
that. Look at that. You know, it rolls with the suspension collapsed.
It does.
That looks pretty cool. So if you didn't unstrap the suspension, could you oval track that?
Ooh. There's no suspension at all. I don't know.
Well, it's touching the ground. It's a little too tight. That's a thought, though.
The wheelie bars on his.
There you go.
I did not realize it was
A full bag.
Look at that.
That's cool. Okay. Slip that out, dude. Wow. They always look so good when they're brand new.
They do. They do.
Now, if I remember correctly, you have protector rails from RPM?
I do.
For it, so you got those. We'll need to install those. And that's the body part, and then he's got some of the suspension stuff?
I do. With running yours, you know, throughout last year, I already know that there's some weak points to it.
Yes.
So I got the hub carriers. I got some RPM arms for the upgrades there. I don't have the steering.
The linkage connectors?
Correct. I don't have
Well,
those yet.
take a look at this. These are the plastic ones. Okay. These are the ones that failed on me, right? I switched these to aluminum, right? And the only downside that I had to that was at one point we did wipe out the bell cranks.
Right.
The bell cranks are really simple to change. They really don't take a lot of effort to change those, pretty simple. But I did break several of these. Now, breaking these is easier on the bell cranks. It's kind of a balance you'll have to choose. Changing these is easy, but it's like 3 to 1.
Right.
You'll break these 3 times before you even think of breaking this once. And these parts, I think I spent like $13 on the bell cranks, so that wasn't a big issue. So there you go.
Release the hounds.
Yes. Nice. Wow, that lifts a long ways. You can get, I can fit my whole fist under there. And I know I shouldn't be surprised because I already have one, but still, when you first bring one up from packaging to full, it's amazing how much it comes out.
That's one thing I really like about this is how much clearance it has. I mean,
it does have a lot. And this one, this model actually wound up getting our channel's King of the Snow rating. So this one actually won the Snow King challenge between the 8S Creighton and this one. This one actually won, and part of it is the chassis design. So it's got this concaved area here, which gives it more ground clearance. So it doesn't stick in the snow as easily. The tires, they do grow pretty good, so they'll reach down in and grab. But this one seems to be a bit more controllable, and it ran longer because this doesn't weigh quite as much as that. That draws more amps. It's faster, it jumps better, this one does. But this one jumps good and it's plenty fast. And so this one actually, if you watch that video, this one actually won that. So this is a really good car, and I really understand why people are 100% hardcore Xmaxx fans. They've been calling this King of the Basher for a long time, and there really isn't another one like it that does the same thing other than another one.
well, you know, it's funny, when you first got that one, I was a little skeptical because it's so big, it's so large, you know, and then after running for a while, you know, guess what? I have one.
You do, yeah. I remember when I brought it to your place and it says, I found your next car?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, right. It did take you a year to get one, but I had a feeling because every time we'd go out, you'd grab the Xmaxx and go play. And I just knew at one point you were gonna go, you know, I need my own. And now you have one. So I'm gonna go into the other room and I'm gonna pull out some arms so we can flip this over and compare it.
Okay.
And see if these arms are the same, at least design, as the arms I took off of that one. And then we'll get these things side by side, guys, and we'll have a look at them side by side and see what's actually the same and what's changed. Okay, so while you're doing that, here's the arms off of this one, and these, you know, only one of them was broken, so we have some undamaged ones that we can compare it to. And here's a rear arm. Okay, so there's the rear one that came off of the orange one. Now, here's an interesting story. All right, so this is the blue one, okay? This is the orange one. So I did a review on the orange one, and one of my viewers asked, will you do a review on the green one?
Well, that's why I bought the blue one.
Well, yeah.
Because it's faster, right?
Well, yeah, and that was the question. I says, well, I already did the review on the orange one. He goes, well, I heard the green one's faster. Guys, you have to know it's exactly the same truck. The color on the anodization here and here is the only difference. They changed the body paint. It's still the same shell. There's literally no difference between this one and that one except the color. So the shocks, they're the same shock. They have the same barrel, the same internals, everything's the same. The same gearing from this one to that one, the same power plant, the same speed control, same radio. Same radio. It has everything. This is identical, same tires. So I told him, I says, I'm not gonna do the review on the green one because they are literally the same car. He responds with, well, I heard the green one's faster, so that's the one I'm buying. Okay. If you make 1,000 of something, one or two of them is going to run a little faster than the rest of them, and that's strictly because when you build bulk of anything, one's wired a little tighter, one's got a better mesh to it. It's just the way they put them together. One's going to outperform another. That's just how it works with mass production. But they're literally the same car. So buying one for speed, where you could just swap the motor and make it faster, change the gearing, make it faster, and not getting the color or the look you're looking for is insanity. Yeah. It doesn't matter. If you find a color that turns you on, it doesn't matter. It can be the Mardi Gras color. It can be whatever. If that turns you on, it's still the same car. Get the one you like. Don't go after speed. Because speed is something you can adjust.
You can make it into something you like too. You can buy different colored shocks. You can buy another body shell. You can buy different wheels.
With the change on the outdrive hubs, these are blue on this one, these are orange. So change these and change the shocks by the other body, and you've got a green one. Or you've got an orange one, but it's still the same on the inside, and that's the count point. So let's flip it over and see if the arms are any different than the original ones were. Here we go. see here. That one goes there. And they look exactly the same to me.
Yep.
So the arms haven't been changed. The color's the same in everything. These have some wear on them, so I had to go to the inside to get the original color. But when you hold them side by side, it looks like the same plastic to me.
Yep.
Okay, that's one thing there. So it looks like it has the same arms, which means they'll hold up for a while, guys. So these arms here, they're pretty tough, but it doesn't take a lot to break one. And where they generally break, they don't generally break in here, they break out towards the hub. And that's where it is, because these have all of that mass that looks really sturdy goes to these 2 points. And these 2 points are thin and small, and that's where it fails. Okay, so
that and the pin in it.
And the pin in it, yeah. So generally it'll bust this across here. So even though the arm looks tough and durable, these 2 little areas here, there's no flex in that. So something's got to give. That's kind of how that works. All right, so move along beyond that. This has the RPM ones on it. That plastic flexes. So now instead of just snapping something, it'll bend and it'll come back. But there's a downside to that. If you're running the stock hinge pins, it'll flex and pop the hinge pin out. It will. That arm won't break. It'll just flex enough, and one of those ears will flex enough to spit the rod out. Okay, the problem with that is you're going to be upset because it's not holding onto the hub carrier. You're going to go, these are junk, but they're not. Go to RPM and buy the captured hinge pins. They have a nut on each end, so it can't separate. Now it'll flex. It'll take whatever impact you put into it, but it won't break and it won't separate. So now it becomes super tough. This one here has been through hell all the way to breakfast and back, and it still holds up good because it flexes where it needs to. You always want strength inside and flexibility outside. You want this, there's a lot of mass in these, so when they move, you want to have some flexibility here, or it transfers all that energy. And if you watch the channel, you've seen me say this before, but it transfers all that energy to the inside. Now, there are 2 steel rails that run across here, side to side. I don't remember exactly, I think they're steel, but they might be aluminum. Okay, those are your 2 strength nibs that go across and they connect these hinge pins. Alongside that, it's the bulkhead. Okay, so that's just plastic that runs through. And I've actually hit things strong enough with the original arms to fracture the bulkhead. Once I switched to RPM, I've hit stuff way harder and I still haven't damaged the chassis at all. These arms are tough enough to break the internals. The RPM ones flex. And I know this sounds like an RPM commercial, but it's not. I'm sharing with you what I've learned, what makes it durable. I don't care who builds it. I don't have any allegiance to RPM, but damn, they make good parts. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So I support them simply because of the quality of their equipment. That's all. There's nothing to it than that. So let's take a minute here. We'll get these lined up and we'll go over this and we'll get the 2 cars side by side and we'll have an internal look and see what there is for a difference. What do you think?
I'm with it.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, for those of you that haven't seen our original unboxing video for this one, okay, we're gonna go over really quickly what comes in the box, what you get with this. So of course you get the car, but you get the TQ radio, and this is a pretty decent radio. It does have the area in the back where you can put the link connector on it that allows you to set all your settings through your phone, but it's something that Traxxas makes you buy separately. So it's not, if you just run it basic, it's got some real rudimentary controls here, but if you put the link connector in it, then you have a lot more settings. You can dial down the brakes and all that stuff. So that's something you might look into, so you can just tune your brakes. Right out of the box, these have a tendency to dynamite the brakes and they flip over forward on good traction. Yep. And you can break stuff out of the box until you do some upgrading. So that's kind of how that works. Invest in the link connector for that, and it gives you more control over your car. So the reaction on this radio is really good. It's a fast radio. It's comfortable in the hand. I just wish they had more controls on it so you didn't have to spend more to get those controls. Also, you get your regular packet here with it. And in here, you've got your speed gear. You've got a couple of pucks here that allow you to adjust for smaller batteries. There's some foam in here that allows you to space for smaller batteries. And it's got a wheel wrench and some rudimentary Allen wrenches in here, and they're nice. They're T-wrenches. Yeah. So they're not your basic angled one, they're T-wrenches. Also, it has, you know, your manual, a sticker packet, and your parts unit. So it's got the explode, so you can see what the part numbers for everything in the car, and that's all that's in here. And I'd open this up But we already did that for this one, and it's the same stuff inside, so it looks like they didn't change the packet at all.
Nope.
However, the speed gear that's in here is right down here, and that speed gear is actually goes on the differential. It's not the pinion. The speed gear actually goes on the center diff, or in that area. So this actually goes into the transmission, not on the motor. So you can still change the pinion on the motor as well.
That I didn't know.
So this will allow you to gear it up, swap the pinion, gear it up even more. Before you put this in, you can change the pinion, gear it up a little bit, but this lets you get a lot more speed out of it. Now, keep in mind, when you do change the speed of the vehicle, your runtime is going to suffer greatly. The heat on the motor, the temperatures are going to come way up. You can run these pretty much indefinitely on the stock gearing, no matter what time of year. We don't have any overheating issues the way they sit. They do have a pretty good cooling system, but if you switch to this speed gear, you're going to want to make a speed run, pause, check your temperatures, make a speed run, check your temperatures. If you're going to go out and bash, you really don't want to have this on there unless you constantly check your temperatures, because it's pretty easy to burn stuff up. Okay, so this is what comes in the packet. Okay guys, so here they are side by side. This is the original one to the channel. This is the brand new one, and you can always tell the difference because we put EC5 connectors on this one. We ran the adapters for a while, and then we pretty much just melted those to the ground, so it required just putting the EC5s on there. The reason we do that is because all the batteries at the channel here are EC5, and everybody that runs here runs the same connectors, so we can swap batteries and we can use each other's chargers, and it's just convenience. Yeah. These ones do work. The Traxxas ones work. We just don't have any Traxxas batteries, so we don't use those. We'll probably wind up switching this right away.
Yeah, just keep it with the group. I mean.
Right, but if you take a look down inside here, and we'll get you a close-up view of this, but if you look inside, they have exactly the same components. It's got the same motor, same speed control, same radio box. Everything's identical inside, but one thing you should notice right off the bat, if you can see it from that view, and we'll try and get you a close-up of this too, the tires on the new ones seem to be 1/4 of an inch taller. However, these ones are really stiff and rigid, and I think that's going to eliminate the ballooning. Like perhaps they've adjusted this so that it doesn't balloon so bad and the tires don't rupture. These do have a tendency to swell way up. Now these ones, look at this. Look how easy those move, and those are just factory Xmaxx tires, and they're real supple. That means they really get down. When they swell, you're in an area, it can swell up and grab. These ones, not nearly. They do have some suppleness to them, but look how you can wrinkle that right up. This one, not so much. You can get it to wrinkle, but it takes a lot more energy to do it. So these are a lot stiffer. Maybe these are broke in, but they felt like that when I put them on it.
So it's just it's a different tire?
No, it's got the same tread pattern. It's got the same, but if it's got the different foam inside of it, like a larger foam disc, I don't know, we haven't opened one up. We're just noticing the difference in them right here. This one the new one has taller tires on it. These ones are a lot softer than those. So it's kind of interesting to me. The wheels have the same pattern to them. The tread has the same pattern to them. I can't explain it.
Same width,
same everything. As far as I know, they're the same. We did discuss this already. The arms are the same, but we can't really compare them to this one because it's got the RPM stuff on it. Other than that, these are the same as the ones that came off of this. Here's the aluminum pieces for the steering. They're the same, except these are really flexible plastic and they suffer. The reason those suffer is when you take a side hit like this or like that, it puts all that energy into this steering link, okay? And that steering link will bow and flex back, but it does have some smaller ends on it, so there's some small points on each end, so each end has a smaller area to it. That's where they generally snap. They can bend, but under high impact, they bend so fast they snap. I upgraded this one to the aluminum ones where it'll transfer all that energy into the steering bell cranks. That doesn't fail very often, but it has been known to fail. However, I was able to get the bell crank set for right around $13. It took me about 10 minutes to change it out. So as opposed to having these break all the time, I'd rather change the bell cranks once in a while. It hasn't affected the servo. We're still running, in this one, we're still running the original differentials. We haven't had to do any rebuild on those yet. We haven't lost a diff, we haven't lost a motor, a speed control, or a servo. All that's still working. I am having some issue with the speed control where it seems to duck power. And I'm not sure what the ducking of power is on that. It's like when you get it wet or you get a nasty rollover, it drops to like 75% power. Turn it off, turn it back on 100% power again. So it's not like the batteries have an issue, because it'll continue to run at 100% power until it decides that it's going to go into safety mode or whatever again. So I am having an issue with that. I did buy a Hobby Wing Max 5 to put in it, and that will allow it won't fit down in here. I'll have to build a mount for it, but it should allow for less of that problem. I didn't suffer that for well over a year before it started to act up. So you shouldn't have any issues with that right out of the box. Yours appears to sit a little higher than mine, but I think that's the tires doing it. Other than that, they look really similar. Everything on the tail, the bumpers, the whole design of the car is the same. Now, here's one issue that I want you to be aware of, and let's just get this one out of the way here for a minute. Okay, so if you take a look in here, here's the battery trays, and there's one on each side, right? Okay, these are limited. Okay, so what it comes down to is these open like this, right? And you insert your battery. That's nice and neat and everything, but this is a fixed elevation. You can't change that. In the box, there are spacers you can put underneath it for smaller batteries. But if you try and put like a 6,000 milliamp battery in that, it ain't happening, because it doesn't fit in the space provided between these two components. It's too thick. So with the factory battery containment system, you're limited to how much battery life you can put in this. And that for me is disappointing. Now, this rail system, you can pull a couple of screws here and remove this. And I've seen people that have created Velcro systems that you can change your battery size and use Velcro. And I'm going to look into that on the orange one, because I want to be able to have my 6,000s in there. Because this is a much bigger car, so if you're running 4,000s or 5,000s, they do fit, but it really limits your run time. You don't have the capacity, you know, and so when you buy batteries for this, you should be able to get a larger capacity battery, so the larger car can run just about as long as the 8th scale stuff. The problem is you'll go through 2 battery packs on this and like a little more than 1 on an 8th scale car, so these do consume battery a lot more. But at the same time, I think there's a workaround for that. So I'll look into that and see if we can do that. Here's the thing. You're planning on upgrading this, aren't you? Okay, so he knows the durability because, well, I threw it on the floor. Because the orange one, he's run that for well over a year. And you know where the frailty is on it.
Yep.
So what we're gonna do here at the channel is, he's gonna order in the parts that he needs. And then I'm gonna get it on the bench, and I'm gonna show you exactly how that goes on. We'll explain why we're doing what we do, and we'll show you the upgrades that we recommend for this. We keep the stock running gear. So stock motor, stock speed control, stock servo, everything that still works, we keep it stock. We don't change the gearing or anything, because we really like the way it comes out of the box. It's a monster that way. I have other cars that go fast, so I don't see the need to make this go fast. First thing I did was take these off. And these are the side rails on the chassis here. And I take those off right away because the body rides on those. So every time you land, the body hits these and it sounds like it's gonna explode. It just does. I removed those, and then the body rides, and it doesn't sound nearly as nasty when it hits the ground. So I took it off because every time it hit the ground, I'd cringe, right? But at the same time, he's gonna get the arms, the outdrive hubs, and the steering links.
Yep.
Correct? Okay, so we'll do a video on that showing you exactly what's involved in changing those. We'll walk you through it so that you can do it to yours as well. What do you think of that?
I think it's great.
Awesome. So there you go. Okay, guys, so there you go, the new Traxxas Xmaxx. Now, like I say, this is probably the same design as the one we already have, and it does look really similar. The arms look about the same and everything. The tires are a little taller on this, which I'm curious about, but when you feel them, these feel a lot more dense, and I think it's the foam ring inside that might add to that. But on the Reaper here, we've got the same thing, and these are older Xmaxx tires, and they feel about the same way. These are Warren, which is really good. It keeps it from flipping so easily in the corner. It'll skid around, so it really works good on this one. But these ones, I'm not sure. You know, these ones here, we did blow these up and I had to buy new ones, and I got these softer ones, but I really do like them. They're forgiving in the corners. They do grow and look really cool when they spin up, so that's kind of a neat thing there. So I'm really excited to get this on the bench and show you guys how to do the upgrades. And of course, these are just the upgrades that we choose. There are many out there. We'll definitely go over what we're doing and why and our thinking behind it, but it is by no means the only way to do this. This is just what works for us, so I can't wait to get it on the bench and do that. So hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's awesome when you do, and it lets us know if we're going in the right direction here. You know, this new studio, we've had a good time setting this thing up, and I think it's going to work out really good. We've got a few programs that we're going to run with this one. And hey, if you guys have an Xmaxx and you've done the durability upgrades and you think you have something to add, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. For Rob, I'm AJ with AJ Jam Studios saying, keep bashing, guys.